Summer Game Fest 2026 just wrapped, and it showcased some good games. Now, it wasn't the show that breaks the internet, but there's a solid lineup here, and a few of these caught me completely off guard. I went back through the whole show and pulled out the 13 that are actually worth your time. So without further ado, let's start. This is Resident Evil Veronica. Capcom is finally remaking Code Veronica, and if you've been following the whole remake train, this is the one everybody's been asking for. We got RE2, we got RE3, we got 4, and Code Veronica was just sitting there in the corner getting ignored the entire time. It's that original 2000 game, the one where Claire Redfield is out hunting for her brother Chris and ends up stranded on a prison island that's, gone completely to hell the way these places always do. And look, I've got a soft spot for this one. Code Veronica is basically the last big, classic-era Resident Evil that never got the modern treatment. And the story was always a little unhinged in the best way. There's a set of creepy aristocrat twins running the place, and it just gets stranger from there. It's the kind of game the diehards have never stopped talking about. And now, a whole new audience gets to see what all the fuss was about. Here's the thing, though. Capcom has basically not missed with these remakes. RE2 was incredible, 4 was incredible, so if they bring even close to that level of care to Code Veronica, this could end up being one of the best ones yet. If the RE2 or RE4 remakes were your thing, or you've got any history with the older survival horror games, this is one to keep an eye on.
We have 2 drivers dead. 3 more in intensive care.
I'm done. My friend said you can help me.
Some people are meant to be outlaws, Theo. Think about it.
So this is the debut game from Maverick Games, a new studio made up of ex-Forza Horizon developers, and the guy running it, Mike Brown, was the creative director on Forza Horizon 5. So right away, these are people who really know how to make an open-world racer feel good. And now, they've gone off and made their own thing. And it's not just another racing sim. They're calling it a cinematic, open-world, action driving game, which is a lot of words, but the actual hook is pretty cool. You play this guy Theo, and during the day you're competing in a big, legit racing series. Then at night, the whole thing flips into underground street racing, the risky, illegal, run-from-the-cops kind. It's leaning hard into that underground street racing fantasy that barely any games really do anymore. They even got Tosin Cole voicing the lead, and the writer behind the show Skins handling the story. So they're clearly taking the narrative side seriously. Now, it's a brand new studio's first game, so I'm keeping expectations reasonable. Let's see how it turns out. This is Haex. So this one's the debut game from a new Swedish studio called Dead Astronauts, made up of people who came from Massive Entertainment, the studio behind The Division, plus some ex-Epic developers. It's a co-op survival shooter you can play solo or with up to 3 friends, and the setup is pretty good. You're part of a science expedition that heads up into the frozen subarctic to investigate this massive, ominous anomaly. Your helicopter goes down, and you wake up to find half your crew has just vanished. So now you're stuck in an alien-infested wilderness covered in a weird paranormal mist, trying to survive the cold, the hunger, and whatever's crawling out of that fog. The part that actually got me is the world-shaping stuff. You find this strange cube that lets you scan and harvest the environment, and you can plant alien seeds to literally reshape the world around you, open new areas, pull new resources. That's a cool twist on a genre that usually just has you chopping trees and slapping a base together. If you and your friends are the type to lose a whole weekend to a co-op survival game, this is one to wishlist and keep an eye on. This is Blood Message. So this comes from 24 Entertainment, the Naraka Blade Point people, published by NetEase. And the thing about NetEase is they're basically a multiplayer factory. Marvel Rivals, Naraka, all that live service stuff. So them making a fully single-player, story-driven game with zero multiplayer attached is just not a thing they normally do. This is their first real crack at a big single-player AAA. It's set in 848 AD, the tail end of China's Tang Dynasty, and the premise is great because you're a nobody. Not a general, not a chosen one, just a nameless messenger who gets pulled into an uprising and has to carry one message 1,000 miles back to the capital, with his young son along the whole way. That father and son thing is really the core of it, this constant tug between getting the message through and just keeping your kid alive. Now, the first reveal last year was mostly mood and atmosphere, but this new trailer is the one that sold me, because it finally showed the combat. There's this brutal siege, you're getting swarmed from every side, and the fighting looks heavy and physical, big, weighty melee, with some stealth and survival mixed in, all running on Unreal 5, so it looks absolutely incredible. If you're into cinematic, story-driven action adventures, the kind where the journey and the people in it matter as much as the fighting, this is one to keep on your radar. This is Virtua Fighter Crossroads. So Virtua Fighter, back in the day, this was one of the most important fighting games ever made. Basically the granddaddy of the 3D fighter. And it's been dead for about 20 years. The last real one came out in 2005. So it coming back at all is a big deal. But here's the twist, and it's a good one. The new one's being made by RGG Studio, the Yakuza people. And instead of just making a straight fighting game, they did the most RGG thing imaginable and bolted a whole story mode onto it. You explore this island city called Velasapara, run around different districts, get into side stories, beat up goons in the street in that exact Yakuza brawler style, and then it flows into the actual one-on-one Virtua Fighter combat. So it's basically a fighting game and a Yakuza game smashed together, which is a combination I did not have on my list. The story follows a new guy named CeeLo, who's trying to make a name for himself, and ends up wanted by the Chinese mafia. And they brought back Pai Chan, who's been around since literally the first game. The catch is, it still has to be a good fighting game underneath all that story stuff. That's the part that matters most. But RGG telling a story is the one thing you never bet against. If you loved the Yakuza games, or you've got history with old school fighters, this is a weirdly exciting one.
I was born to be the collector.
To protect a world I cannot be a part of. Destined to be feared for what I am. It is my fate. I have devoted my life to facing them.
This is 1666 Amsterdam, so this comes from Patrice Desilets, and that name might not ring a bell, but what he made absolutely will, because he's the guy who created Assassin's Creed. He also did Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time, so we're talking a legitimately huge name in this industry. And here's the wild part. He's been trying to make 1666 Amsterdam for over 15 years. He first pitched it back around 2010, then it got buried in an ugly legal fight with Ubisoft over who even owned it. He eventually won the rights back, and then it just kind of vanished. A lot of people figured it was dead. So the fact that it's not only alive, but has a free playable prologue you can download right now, today, is a little surreal. The game itself is a dark, third-person action-adventure set in 1666 Amsterdam. You play Noah, a woman called the Collector, and she's got witchcraft that lets her see the demons hiding inside ordinary people, ancient beings called the Originals. There's also a companion who sees the world through the eyes of a cat, and you can swap between them, which completely changes how you play, and the story jumps between 3 different time periods. Now, his last game, Ancestors, was a bit of an acquired taste, so I'm staying grounded. But the prologue's free right now, so there's no reason not to try it. This is Jin Atlas, so this is the new game from Fumito Ueda, and if that name means nothing to you, the games will, because this is the guy behind Ico, Shadow of the Colossus, and The Last Guardian. The man has directed exactly 3 games in his whole career, and every single one is considered a classic, so anything new from him is automatically a big deal. And this is his first game in about 10 years. It used to be called Project Robot. Now it's Jin Atlas, a single-player, open-world action-adventure. You wake up alone on this huge, silent, abandoned planet covered in giant dead robots and massive ancient structures, and you're basically there to figure out what happened to the place. So it's got that classic Ueda feel, the loneliness, the enormous scale, the quiet sense of mystery, except this time it's sci-fi. But here's the part that got me. You're not just some person walking around. You play as a little detached robot head that flies around and latches on to giant mech bodies to pilot them. That's such a strange, cool idea. Exactly the kind of weird swing you'd expect from this guy. If you loved Shadow of the Colossus or anything else he's made, this one shoots straight to the top of the list. This is Stranger Than Heaven. So this is RGG Studio again, the Yakuza people, which I know, they're absolutely everywhere this year. We've actually been seeing trailers for this one for a while now, but the big thing at Summer Game Fest is that it finally got a release date. Here's the pitch. It's one saga that follows a single guy, Makoto Daito, across 50 years and 5 different eras of 20th century Japan, jumping from 1915 all the way up to 1965. You move through these completely different time periods and cities as the world changes around him, all wrapped up in themes of discrimination, identity, and trying to find somewhere to belong. It's a period crime drama and it looks gorgeous. All jazz and old Japan with that signature RGG brutal hand-to-hand combat layered on top. But the thing everyone's talking about is the cast, and it is bonkers. Snoop Dogg is in it. Tupac is in it. They even got a bunch of huge Japanese stars and a legendary old Yakuza movie actor. It's easily the most star-studded game RGG has ever made. The Tupac thing could go either way, but RGG does not miss with this kind of crime drama, so I'm in. If you love the Yakuza games or sprawling period dramas, this one's an easy yes.
They're greedy. They're cruel. They lie. They're bullies.
Yes, dogs? Yeah, I got one of them.
So that's what I say when I look at someone like you. Bully.
See, that's where we're different. I genuinely like most people.
Oh, well, then you're truly a sick fuck.
This is Crossfire. This is the debut game from a studio called That's No Moon, and the people there are veterans from Naughty Dog and Call of Duty, the folks who worked on The Last of Us and Uncharted. They got over $100 million to make this thing, so there's real weight behind it. Now the name might throw you, because Crossfire is one of the biggest free-to-play shooters in the world, huge over in Asia. There was a single-player version a few years back called Crossfire X that flopped and got shut down. So this is basically the do-over. The Naughty Dog crowd taking that universe and building a proper story game out of it. And the premise is the good part. It's a single-player, third-person tactical thriller where two operators on opposite sides, basically sworn enemies, are forced into an uneasy alliance to survive something way bigger than both of them. So the whole thing is about trusting a person you absolutely should not trust. They even pulled in real actors, Claudia Dumit from The Boys and Ricky Whittle from American Gods. The combat's built around a new system they call adaptive cover, where you use the environment to outsmart enemies instead of just blasting everything. It's a debut, and we haven't seen a ton yet, so I'm staying measured, but ex-Naughty Dog people doing a tense, story-driven thriller is a strong pitch. If you like cinematic, character-heavy action games, keep this one on your radar. This is Alien Isolation 2. The first Alien Isolation came out back in 2014, and over the years it's become this absolute cult classic, widely considered one of the scariest games ever made. The whole hook was that you couldn't fight the alien. There was one xenomorph stalking the station, it had this terrifyingly smart AI, and all you could do was hide. Fans have been begging Creative Assembly for a sequel for over a decade, and it's finally here. This time, it's a new protagonist and a new setting, and that's the part I find interesting. The original was stuck on one claustrophobic space station, but the sequel takes you down to a remote colony world getting hammered by constant storms. So you've got the tight, oppressive corridors of a Weyland-Yutani station, but also the open, hostile planet surface outside, which is a way bigger playground for that thing to hunt you in. And they're saying the alien's AI is even smarter and more aggressive now. Now, it's still early, the footage was pre-alpha, so there's a long way to go, but the original devs are back, and that's exactly who you want on this. If you loved the first one, or you're into survival horror where hiding is your only option, this is the game you've been waiting for.
People are dying. Some monster is out there. Word around the precinct is you're the guy to call.
Bigby.
Sheriff?
I'll have your job within the week.
Are you living under a rock?
You're a raging dumpster fire of a person.
You're the reason I'm here.
She's a detective.
This is The Wolf Among Us 2. The first Wolf Among Us came out back in 2013, and it's one of those Telltale games people still won't shut up about. And then the sequel turned into one of the longest sagas in gaming. It got teased years ago, then Telltale straight up went bankrupt and shut down, so everyone assumed it was dead and buried. Then the studio came back from the grave, revived the project, and proceeded to delay it over and over, even swapping the whole thing to a new engine partway through. Fans have been waiting forever, and now it finally actually has a real release window. In the game, Bigby's back on the job investigating a string of brutal murders, 6 gruesome killings that point to some kind of monster on the loose. It's that same choice-driven storytelling and that same incredible noir style. They're even remastering the original first, so if you never played it, you've got a way to catch up. Fans have been burned by the delays, so I get the hesitation. But the first game is a real classic, and if this gets anywhere close to it, it's special. If you loved the original, or any of the old Telltale story games, you already know this is the one.
I'm listening.
Scarlet Sin. That's the beginning and end of it all. How about you try taking a hit?
You're acting a little strange today.
Initiating C3 sync. Ready, Angel.
Roger, Kenna. Tracking.
출입문 닫습니다. Doors closing. How's it looking out there?
I can't stand crowds. It'd be better for both of us.
This is Stellar Blade: Blood Rain. After how big the first one got, a sequel was always coming. But Shift Up didn't just crank out more of the same. They've taken this in a bold new direction. The biggest change is the lead. You're not playing Eve this time. There's a brand new protagonist named Evie. And from the trailer, she comes off a little greener, a little less battle-hardened than Eve was. Her combat's different too. Eve basically lived and died by her sword, but Evie throws hands. She fights with these mechanical gauntlets, shape-shifting fists that morph into all kinds of weapons mid-fight, even flashing a reverse grip blade near the end. It's still got that signature Stellar Blade rhythm, the parries, the dodges, the style, just built around a totally different weapon set. The setting's totally different too. Where the first game was a wide-open, ruined, post-apocalyptic wasteland, Blood Rain pulls you into a dense, rain-soaked industrial city. The kind of place full of steam trains, narrow streets, and a heavy noir atmosphere. One thing that's actually a big deal, Shift Up is self-publishing this one. The original was a PlayStation exclusive, but with Shift Up running it themselves now, there's a real shot it hits a lot more platforms. If you were into the first Stellar Blade, this one's absolutely worth following.
Threat. Now, hope endures in those who fight.
Long story short, the world's in trouble. It has been for a while.
So what are we waiting for? Let's give Sephiroth the beating of a lifetime. You're mine.
This is Final Fantasy VII Revelation, the third and final chapter of the Final Fantasy VII Remake trilogy. After Remake and then Rebirth, this is the one that finally wraps the whole story up. And for anyone who's been writing with this project, that is a huge moment. The biggest change is that it's going full open world. You finally get the Highwind, the airship, and you can fly it across the entire planet and then just parachute straight down wherever you want to land. So instead of being funneled down a path, the whole world finally opens up. They're also bringing Sid and Vincent in as fully playable this time, and the combat's getting a new job system layered on top of that real-time and tactical mix the remakes are known for. And here's the part that actually matters for a lot of people. The first two games were PlayStation exclusives for ages, but Revelation is launching everywhere at once, so this time, nobody's getting left out. Look, This is the climax of a project that's been running for years. The big emotional payoff where it all finally comes together. Sephiroth, Meteor, all of it. For anyone who grew up with Final Fantasy VII, this is about as big as it gets.